أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم معنا اليوم الدرس الثامن عشر. We're now in lesson 18. سوف كالعادة سوف أقرأ الحوار ثم نشرح القواعد التي وجدت في الدرس. Then we go through the principles that are found in the lesson inshallah. So starting from here. أين تريدين أن تذهبي بعد صلاة العصر؟ أريد أن أزور جارتنا التي زارتني أمس. أيمكنك أن ترجعي قبل صلاة المغرب؟ يمكن إن شاء الله. أرجو أن تغسلي قميصي الأبيض بعد رجوعك من عند الجارة. سأغسله وأكويه إن شاء الله. أين تريدين أن تذهبوا الآن يا أبنائي؟ نذهب الآن. أين تريدون أن تذهبوا؟ sorry, not تريدين. أين تريدون أن تذهبوا الآن يا أبنائي؟ نذهب الآن إلى المسجد، وبعد الصلاة نريد أن نذهب إلى السوق لنشتري أقلاما ودفاتر ومساطر. أين زملاؤكم؟ ما جاءوا اليوم لزيارتكم كعادتهم كل أسبوع؟ أرادوا أن يذهبوا اليوم إلى المتحف. يا بناتي، أنا الآن أذهب إلى المستشفى لعيادة سلمى. أتردن أن تذهبن معي؟ نعم. ماذا تردن أن تأخذن لها؟ نريد أن نأخذ معنا علبة الحلوى هذه. إن سلمى تحب هذه الحلوى كثيرا. أتردن أن تأخذن شيئا آخر؟ نريد أن نأخذ هذه المجلة وهذا الكتاب وهذه الملابس. أرجو ألا تأخذنا هذه الأشياء كلها، فإن المستشفى لا يسمح بدخول أشياء كثيرة. أين خديجة وعائشة وأم كلثوم؟ أيردن أن يذهبن معنا؟ لا أدري أين هن. أظن أنهن ما رجعن من المدرسة. هيا بنا يا بنات. So the reality is of this lesson, we're going to be focused on a similar thing that we learned in the last lesson. However, it will be focusing on the conjugation of the verb. Focus on the conjugation of the verb. As you can see, turidina, tadhabin, like this becomes tadhabi after an. This is the female version of the verb. So again, the feminine version of the verb of what we learned in last lesson. So we'll come to see the same rules being applied. However, the conjugation of the verb for different pronouns, which we'll see in the other exercises, inshallah. As that's a general pattern within the book, we might mention a rule and look at the masculine form first, and then the following lesson will be the same rule. However, it will be focusing on the feminine address when speaking and reading, inshallah. So the first question that is continued up to here was صحح ما يلي, correct the following. That's built upon what we just read. ويسأل المدرس كل من الطلاب هذا السؤال. The teacher would generally ask this in a classroom. ماذا يريد هؤلاء الطلاب? So you're going to read this and just benefit from the possible answers that you can mention using how this phrase and this question came within the dialogue to know how to talk about each person in the response. So for example, ماذا يريد هؤلاء الطلاب? Now it's talking about plural, so you're not going to say يريد, you can say يريدون. Okay? And that would apply to all of these sentences that you can see in this area here. It says تأمل ما يلي, ponder over what follows. ألف هو يذهب, هو يريد أن يذهب. هي تذهب, هي تريد أن تذهب. Again, this is emphasizing what? One, the conjugation of the verb for هو, هي, أنت. Then you have أنا, نحن, and everyone. هم, أنتم, أنت, أنتي, sorry. هن, أنتن. So you're going to have to ponder over this. And the difference is between, in this column, going down, is marfu', it takes dhamma. In this column, it's mansub, because it came after an. And an is called harfu nasb. It's a noun that makes things, it's a harf, it's a particle that makes things take fatha. Okay, or the equivalent. So what happens to the conjugation of the verb when I use an? So in here, for example, تذهبين تذهبون يذهبون. After an, you can see I dropped the noon. The noon is always dropped. For hum, antum, anti. Okay. And the jewel, which is for two people, which you're going to learn at the end of Medina Book 2, inshallah. So after you kind of ponder over this table, how to conjugate the verb for different people, who's doing it, based on the pronouns hum, antum, etc. Then you look at exercise number 5. ضع في الأماكن الخالية الفعل يذهب مسندا إلى الضمائر المناسبة. So you look at the sentences and you fill in the missing space with the verb يذهب with the correct pronoun attached to it. So that is revising the conjugation of the verb. Make sure you choose the correct form of the verb to fill in this empty space, inshallah, to make it clear who's being spoken to or being spoken about without making any errors, inshallah. So again, when you actually do these exercises as well, you can check your answers in the answer booklet that is available in the resources section of the website. So you have 2 more sentences to complete that exercise. And here it says أكمل كل من الجمل الآتية بوضع فعل مضارع مناسب. So complete all of these sentences by placing in empty space a suitable present tense verb. Use a dictionary, use the word bank to help you of what's preceded of the verbs that we have learnt up to now. So you look at the sentence and make sure you choose a suitable verb to fill in the empty space that makes this whole sentence make sense. Then here it says تأمل ما يلي المضارع مرفوع علامة الرفع المضارع المنصوب علامة النصب. So as I mentioned to you, there's verbs that take dhamma are called مضارع مرفوع. It takes dhamma. Nothing has preceded to affect it from taking dhamma. And you have علامة الرفع. What's the sign that is مرفوع? The first one is dhamma. Okay. In second one here, يذهبون, the sign of it being marfu' is the affirmation of the nun. As I mentioned previously, the sign that is mansub, it takes fatha, is deleting the nun. But the sign that it takes dhamma, which is the equivalent of dhamma, as you will study in grammar, is the keeping of the nun, is a sign of dhamma on the end of the verb. So that's something to ponder over. You have the type of present tense verb, marfu', and a sign. What is the sign that is marfu'? Then you have the type that is mansub, is meant to take fatha, or what is equivalent and represents fatha, depending on the type of verb it is. And that's based on the conjugation. Who does it represent? Is it a plural, singular, and the likes? Okay, and then what's the sign? What is the sign that it is mansub, for example? But all of this we're going to study in detail, what is mansub, marfu', majroor and majzoom throughout the whole series, inshallah, for the rest of the series. And more so in Medina Book 3. And here it says, تأمل ما يلي ألا equals an plus la. So the same thing applies. أرجو أن تدخل, I hope you enter. أرجو ألا تدخل, I hope that you don't enter. I hope that you don't enter. Okay, so again, Allah has the same effect on the verb that comes after it. It takes fatha also, like this. Arju an tajlisa, I'd like you to sit here. Arju alla tajlisa huna, I'd like that you didn't sit here. And that's the usage of Allah, which equals an plus la. The same thing happens to the verb, it takes fatha, or the equivalent sign of it taking fatha, which might be deleting the noon, as we have now seen within this lesson. Here it says ka, which is harfun min huruf al-jar. This is one of the huruf al-jar that makes a noun take kasra. However, kaf, it means al-mushabaha, something to be similar to something else. So هذه المدرسة كالمسجد, this school is like the masjid. So ka is what represents the similitude. هذه المدرسة, this school. Okay, what about it? Kal masjidi is like. So ka means is like or is similar to. What is it similar to? Al masjid. And that is a preposition. So whatever comes after it takes kasra. And you have examples. You have examples to read through and identify the usage of ka. Someone says هذا الرجل كأخيك. This man is like your brother. So we use ka, which is harf tashbih, the particle that shows something is similar to something else in comparison. So you're practicing, for example, هذا القلم كالمسواك. It looks like a miswak. This is something for an example. Okay, but the ka shows is like. Yeah, so that is the usage of ka. It's a preposition to show a similitude between some things. Then you have al-kalimat al-jadida, new words that are always to be learnt and remembered throughout your studies of the Arabic language. It's always important to keep up with the vocab, insha'Allah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. And I will see you next lesson, lesson 19, insha'Allah, where we'll continue to learn different features and principles of the Arabic language. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.